ending and the war was still an issue and something that was raw in the American psyche, might be something different. But we're a short attention span people. So 3, 4, 5 years later, he's a traitor. 3, 4, 5 years ago, he might have been a hero.
The main narrative that the U.S. government has pushed forward, and it was effectively delivered by the U.S. media, was that Manning's revelations have endangered U.S. national security. But the conversation that's been avoided is that perhaps the government's killing of civilians, with drones and otherwise, has generated more enemies for the United States than Bradley Manning's revelations have. In Washington, I'm Ganesh Shekyan.
Manning has already pled guilty to 10 lesser charges related to giving secret documents to WikiLeaks. The prosecution says that it was done with malicious intent and that it gravely harmed U.S. national security. But Denver Nix, who has written a book about Manning, says that there's been no proof of that.
There's no hard evidence that I've ever seen that American lives were lost as a direct result of what Bradley Manning leaked. There's no question that the Army has overcharged in this case, though. He does not deserve to be, executed or spend the rest of his life in prison. Bradley Manning has offered to plead guilty, basically, to 10 lesser charges that would land him in prison for 20 years. So that by the time he got out, he would have spent almost half of his life in prison. He would have been in prison almost for as long as he's been alive today.
Welcome back. That was, of course, RT News talking about the case of Bradley Manning. So again, you heard your President Barack Obama, and John Bolton and others that are associated with the UN, associated with organizations such as the Project for the New American Century, condemning the acts of, again, Bradley Manning, but not looking at the behavior of the United States government, the United States military and contractors, and killing of innocent men, women, and children in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Somalia, in Yemen, in Syria, in Libya, and, of course, many other countries and ventures that the American people are ignorant to, and your leaders are afraid to talk about, those in the Senate, those in Congress, your religious leaders, many of them are afraid to touch the conversation and to talk about it. And again, so we see the killing of innocent, the death of innocents, and you would have those that say, of course, they're casualties of war, but last I checked, only the Congress can declare war. So these are, again, police actions, and these are no more than occupations of other nations by multinational corporations, and your sons and daughters are being sent there to protect these economic hitmen who want to come in and privatize the countries, privatize their infrastructure, privatize their resources, as they are looking to do in Haiti, since they have discovered more oil in Haiti than in Saudi Arabia or Venezuela. But your corporate-controlled news media, of course, will not tell you that information. So the American people, black, brown, red, yellow, and white, are going to have to grow up and, in the words of Dr. King, condemn violence in all its forms. You can't just talk about drive-bys in the hood, talk about violence in California with what you saw yesterday, of course, at the beach in California, but talk about the killings, as we saw members of the Congressional Black Caucus having a staged town hall meeting this past Friday in Chicago to talk about now violence in the inner cities and the urban communities of America. But they don't want to talk about, of course, violence in terms of the wars or these police actions that this government has carried on for years now and continues to carry on. And, of course, every bomb that's sent and dropped overseas is one less building being built here, one less social program here, one less school, one less community center, one less recreation center, one less hospital, and all of the institutions that we need in order to develop people inside of this society right now. So we have to be willing to step up and tell the truth regarding, again, Bradley Manning, regarding Julian Assange, regarding Edward Snowden and Michael Hastings and others who are really patriots and standing up, telling the truth regarding, again, actions and war crimes, which, again, means that your president, former presidents, your president of President Bush, President Clinton, President Obama have to be charged with war crimes, along with those in the military who carried out these acts against, again, children and women and men who are not part of so-called Al-Qaeda, which, of course, when you understand Al-Qaeda is funded and controlled by Al-Qaeda, no different than the way Hitler controlled the brown shirts to create the problem, to get the reaction, and ultimately to get the solution. So we'll come back, open up the line shortly, but we'll stay on top of this story as we look and await to see the verdict in, again, Fort Meade regarding Bradley Manning and what this means regarding the, again, war crimes, regarding the killing of innocent life. And this is in violation clearly of international law clearly in violation of the Geneva Accord and the Geneva Convention and the killing of men, women, and children, which is what is tantamount to genocide, as we saw to members of the Jewish community and Nazi Germany, and they continue to hunt their tormentors to this day. So does that mean that the people of Iraq, the people of Afghanistan, the people of Pakistan, the people of Yemen, the people of Syria, the people of Libya can hunt down their tormentors and their killers, from George Bush, the father, to George Bush, the son, to Clinton, to Obama, and others who, again, co-conspirators and bringing about the death, and then going in, setting up, again, as I said before, military bases, 60 or more just in Iraq, setting up PXs and opening up barbershops, Burger Kings, Murder Kings, McDonald's, and then they come in and fleece the entire country, as they're looking to do to your cities, which I'll talk about shortly. But we'll stay on top of this story. But let me get into, as I promised you, this story regarding child trafficking, and give you this clip from the movie Conspiracy of Silence, which talks about, again, Boys Town and the trafficking of boys out of Boys Town and being used for sexual rituals, then some being killed, flown to Air Force bases in Colorado Springs, and then placed in cages with other dead children, made to perform sexual perverted acts for men to watch. But that's all in the videotape. So don't say Brother Muhammad said that. That's in the stories of these children that survived and told their story. That's in the stories of Kathy O'Brien. That's in the story of Mark Phillips. That's in the story of others who have been a part of these MK Ultra mind control programs, those who have been a part of the Monarch mind control programs and other programs that you know nothing about. And this is why you have to protect your children, debrief your children, watch your children, and wash your children. But you may have already been a victim, unfortunately, of those types of acts, because this city right here, Baltimore, I know you call it Baltimore, Baltimore, where they will sacrifice children. And this is the Jesuit haven right here. So a lot of it has gone on under the Jesuit watch, under the Jesuit, again, auspices as well. As I said before, this is the Jerry Sandusky-ization of America. And the recent story last week talking about Cal Ripken has still been silent regarding what happened to his mom, Val Ripken. But nobody's ever stopped to ask Cal Ripken, what's Cal Ripken's connection to Jerry Sandusky and that Second Mile Foundation up there in Pennsylvania, which was a grooming house and which was a feeding house, and the way that they pimp boys out to these rich white men majority, but they're not just white. We find out they're black, brown, red, yellow, and white. And they would lease these boys out or rent these boys out. So many of their grooming houses was tied to the Second Mile Foundation. And there was another foundation in New York called the Fresh Air Fund, which was a feeder system for these children. You can look it up for yourself. But that case is in court right now. Jerry Sandusky, along with, I think, 3 other former Penn State officials. That case is going on in Pennsylvania right now. And I'll have to bring back on Bill Kiesling, who wrote the book about Jonathan Luna, but also he reported about Jerry Sandusky and what was going on at Penn State, heavily tied to Skull and Bones, if you don't know, right there on the campus of Penn State, Joe Pa and the rest of them. But let me see if we can go to this clip talking about, it's just a trailer, talking about the, again, Conspiracy of Silence and some of the names that you may hear, Lawrence King and others, and some of the children. And then we got a clip from Kathy O'Brien and Mark Phillips talking about her book, The Transformation, spelled Trance, Transformation of America, in which she talks about all of that and names in the book from elected officials, presidents, vice presidents, your Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, and others that are heavily, again, named and talked about in terms of what they have continued to do to children, to men, and to women as well. If you're going to talk about this case yesterday, 105 children saved. No, you had many more coming out of the Catholic Church, coming out of the Roman Catholic Church. And yesterday, your Pope came out, Pope Francis, and said that homosexuality is all right with him. So they moved from homosexuality on to pedophilia and bestiality and some other alities, which is becoming a reality right now. But all of that comes out of the book, the Committee of 300, which talks about how you can make that mainstream, make pornography mainstream, make child pedophilia mainstream to the people in America and the people in the world. Let me go to this clip entitled from the movie Conspiracy of Silence, and it's online. You can pull it up, look at it, read it for yourself, or watch it for yourself as well, because anything I say, I can give you the facts regarding their acts. So let me go to this clip again talking about the documentary, The Conspiracy of Silence, and then we'll come in and get into the clip from Kathy O'Brien. And then before I open up the lines, I'm going to talk about your mayor. So I saw this report came out talking about the worst mayor in America, and you don't have to guess who it is, do you? You don't have to guess who it is. But let me go to this clip talking about, again, the serious issue of, again, child pedophilia, child trafficking, and human trafficking, and the violence that goes along with this as well. So let me go to this clip, then we'll come back in and get into more of the state of the city.
Multi-million-dollar fraud. But financial crime is only half the story. This is the true story of Lawrence King. It is the story of an evil at the heart of America, of a cover-up at the highest level. One man is attempting to uncover the full story. John DeCamp is among the most highly decorated Vietnam veterans. A former Republican state senator in Lincoln, Nebraska, he is now a lawyer fighting the legacy of Lawrence King's evil network.
It's a web of intrigue that starts in our Holy of Holies, Boys Town, Nebraska, one of the most respected institutions in the United States, and spreads out like a spider web to Washington, D.C., right up to the steps of the nation's capital, the steps of the White House, involves some of the most respected and powerful and richest businessmen in this United States of America. And the centerpiece of the entire web is the use of children for sex and drug dealing and drug couriers, the compromising of politicians, the compromising of businessmen, but worst of all, the corruption of key institutions of government that have the duty and responsibility to make sure these things never happen.
World-famed Boys Town is in the news again.
Made famous by an Oscar-winning film, Boys Town, Nebraska is America's favorite children's charity. It was founded in 1917 by Father Edward Flanagan.
Part of spectacle in our social life is the neglected, unwanted, and unloved boy.
Welcome back. Now, that was one clip. Can't give you all of that. Talking about Boys Town, and of course, that was Lincoln, Nebraska, tied to Lawrence King, who was a heavy supporter of the Republican Party. And even there was a unknown gentleman at that time, we'll say alleged, who would ultimately, I think, become a candidate for president of the United States, who was running with Lawrence King and running with the Lincoln Savings and Loan. And he was the head of the Restaurants Association. His name was Herman King, in case you don't know that name. But let me go to this clip of Catherine O'Brien, talking about, again, her ordeal, and give you a little of that, in which she talked about being able to come out of that and tell her story as well. So let me go to this clip of Kathy O'Brien, author of the book Transformation. There's a video that's probably about an hour and 40 minutes long with her and Mark Phillips, entitled Mind Control, Out of Control, MK Ultra, Kathy Bryan, full story. So but let me go to this clip, and you'll give an opportunity to hear from her talking about the importance of coming forward and telling your stories. And then we'll come back and open up the lines, take your thoughts, questions, comments. So listen to this clip of Kathy O'Brien.
A tool that's being covertly used to usher in what Adolf Hitler and George Bush termed New World Order, and that's mind control. I've enjoyed talking with quite a few of you earlier this evening pertaining to how mind control has affected some of you or some of your loved ones. Mind control is very prevalent in this country and around the world. These criminals that are in control of our country operate on the philosophy that secret knowledge equals power. Many government secrets and personal reputations were staked on the belief that I could not be deprogrammed to remember those things that I was supposed to forget. They were wrong. For as intelligent as these perpetrators are, they're limited in their thinking by their own immorality. They don't have wisdom. They don't think deep. And they never considered the strength of the human spirit. They never considered what would happen when a good man like Mark Phillips gained knowledge of their secrets and use them to restore a mind.